Hello, everybody. It is Friday, January 27th, 2023, and welcome to the Wrestling Republic Daily Broadcast. And boy, oh boy, do we have a big show lined up for you guys today. We're going to have a SmackDown preview. And then just before the show started, me and Coby got into a bit of a discussion about whether or not LA Knight should be pushed in WWE. So we're going to get into that a bit later on as well. But anyway, first things first. Today I'm joined by, like I just referenced, Coby Galenzoski, the producer himself. How are you, Coby?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm officially back for the weekend because my 3-day streak, not my streak, but my 3-day break is over. I produced yesterday, but now I'm back as a on-screen participant.
Nice. And I'm also joined once again by Clark Taylor. How are you today, Clark?
It's good to be back. It's super good to be back. It's Rumble week. I'm stoked. I mean, this is one of my favorite pay-per-views of the year, so I'm really hyped about that. We've talked about it all week. We'll keep talking about it the rest of the week until it happens. Just hyped all the way around.
Absolutely. I'm so pumped for tomorrow night. And I've actually fixed my sleeping schedule as of late. So I'm going to be honest, it's going to be difficult to stay awake, but I'm going to get the energy drinks at the ready, and that's going to be a good show. And today we're joined, just like yesterday, by the man himself, Anthony Ricciardi. How are you, Anthony?
Doing all right. Looking forward to the show.
Nice. Yeah, let's get let's get into SmackDown. Of course, SmackDown tonight, a few matches which have been built for a few weeks now, and the biggest of those is Rey Mysterio versus Karrion Kross, which has been a decent feud so far. I wouldn't actually personally say it's been anything special. It hasn't been quite as good as I expected it from a storyline standpoint, but it has been decent. And I know we've already said this line, but I'll say it again. If Karrion Kross can't have a good match with Rey Mysterio, then there is a bit of an issue. He really, really needs to prove himself in this match, and I think it could end up being a really, really fun match between the two. Their stars, Rey Mysterio has proved himself time and time again against wrestlers similar to Karrion Kross. So yeah, if things go to plan, this could be a banger of a match. But what do you think, Clark?
I think it's almost impossible to have a bad match with Rey Mysterio, but to your point, we got to see a good one here. At the same time, I can't see Rey beating him. So, and not only that, Kross is just so much bigger than Rey. Stylistically, I'm a little bit concerned that it could turn into a squash, and Rey isn't able to show what Kross is capable of in a way that maybe a slightly larger but equally agile guy could. Maybe a Ricochet Kross, I think, might make more sense in this scenario than Rey and Kross. Not that Rey can't hang or any of that, but this is, logically speaking, Rey's going to take a ton of bumps in this match. And I don't know if that's necessarily the best way to go to show that Kross can work bell to bell. That would be my only concern. Beyond that, they're two such great talents. I'm hoping they put on an excellent match. But I think that's contingent on Rey getting some offense in. For sure.
No, absolutely. And I've stated this before, but back in 2009, 2010, I can never remember the year. The feud which got me into wrestling was Rey Mysterio and Batista. And then, of course, at the Rumble, they did Rey Mysterio versus Undertaker. And both of those matches I absolutely loved. And stylistically, this could be something quite similar to that, which is why if Kross doesn't play the role well tonight, then I really do think that perhaps the concerns which some people in the WWE universe are having around Kross maybe could be legit, and perhaps we could see the audience start to turn on him. But what do you think, Anthony?
I'm a little surprised that they're booking this match tonight and not at the Rumble, just based on them building up. It's kind of rare for them to build up to a match to a SmackDown as opposed to a pay-per-view. I mean, Rey's one of those talents that can have a great match with anybody. So I'm curious to see where they go with this, whether or not Dominic plays a role in any of this, because I do think it's ultimately probably leading to Dominic and Rey at Mania. So that's why I'm a little surprised they didn't do it at the Rumble, because it would make sense, Dominic being there. I mean, whether or not he interferes in the match tonight costs Ray, and then they go at it in the Rumble match, possibly. I think it'll probably be a decent match, though. I think Cross can get a good match out of with Ray. I do.
Yeah, let's hope so. And I mean, like I said, the storyline's not been as good as I hoped it would be. And part of it is because they are still slightly stuck on the Ray Dominic storyline. I mean, I'd love to see that at Mania. Of course, we're going to be there, and that would be an absolute blast to see. But I do have a feeling they might hold out and doing that match for perhaps even another year or maybe SummerSlam, or even maybe a bit longer, because I feel like that might be Ray's retirement match, to be honest.
That's why I'm thinking it's Mania, because if Ray's retiring, I think it's going to be Mania, and I've seen this build up before with Undertaker and Kane. Taker said he wouldn't face his brother, and that's how they were able to drag it out to Mania. And I kind of feel like they're doing the same storyline with Ray and Dom now. I can't imagine they're going to go a whole nother year when they did the Thanksgiving and the Christmas Day arrest and, Dom the convict storyline that they're doing now. I can't see them somehow being able to drag that out to SummerSlam. I think that's why Ray got moved to SmackDown, to separate them, to drag it to Mania. That's where I think it's going. I think it's going to be Mania.
I would love to see it in person at Mania. That would be fantastic to see. And of course, after that, presumably Dominic's going to get the mask, which is what Ray's always said would happen. So yeah, I'm super excited for that possibility. But what do you think, Coby? What are your thoughts on Cross versus Mysterio tonight?
I mean, you stole my line about it being if Cross down have a good match with Rey Mysterio. Ooh. But I mean, I do want to say it. If Ray cannot get a good match out of Karrion Kross, things have to be evaluated. Whether it's Cross changing up his style a bit, and I mean, I've shared the concern. Well, I don't want to say weeks before, but I've shared the concern about his style before on the show, and it's like his character is about bringing the doom, bringing the times over TikTok, and then he's wrestling a methodical style, which is sometimes could work, but he almost needs more explosiveness. Yes, with someone like Rey Mysterio, he can toss him around better than a Drew McIntyre at this point, and I think that could almost work better. But I think this is almost good because you do want matches to build to a weekly show, like matches, like almost matches that aren't going to happen on the pay-per-view could happen on the go-home shows, so you're not stacking a 10-match pay-per-view. And I think this, I mean, I don't want to go into this as much, but this is almost something that AEW could do. Is like if you have a TNT title match or a big 6-man tag match or something, you could do that on a Dynamite or a Rampage as a more of a preview for the pay-per-view instead of adding another 10, 15 minutes to the show in itself. I think it's something that could happen. I like that it's on a SmackDown instead of a pay-per-view because the only place on a pay-per-view it could go is a kickoff, and no one watches kickoffs.
Yeah, great point there. And I actually do agree with you on that completely because since Triple H has come in, we've got seen pay-per-views having less matches, which is something which I'm a big fan of, in all honesty. Apart from WrestleMania, I think it should, both nights should have 8 matches on each. But 5, 6, I think is perfect for a normal pay-per-view. And I know, obviously, this is one of the big 4 pay-per-views, but the Royal Rumble match is going to take a lot more time, should be longer regardless. So I do agree there that having it on SmackDown is probably the right decision. And while from the Dominic standpoint, it is harder to justify him coming over. It'll still be interesting, and I'm certainly excited for this one tonight on SmackDown. But talking about things which I'm excited for.
Just one thing I do want to say is they really were kind of stepping away from the 8 to 10 match cards on a regular pay-per-view after when COVID hit.
Yeah,
a Backlash or a TLC, they were 5 or 6 match cards, and they were really taking that thing, whether it was because they needed to make them shorter or not, but they were really taking that step, but way before Triple H took over.
No, absolutely. It's just been like, the likes of Survivor Series and stuff, they have cut down a bit. But talking about, being excited and stuff, the match which I'm most excited for, and it's not even actually just because of the match, but it's whether or not somebody gets involved tonight, is Kevin Owens versus Solo Sikoa. Now, I believe it was Clark the other day. It was Clark the other day who suggested that perhaps it's not going to be a full turn tonight, Sami turning on the bloodline, but perhaps Sami is going to, go against Reigns' orders and help Solo Sikoa, or try and help Solo Sikoa get the win tonight. And that is what's going to be leading to the turn. So I am excited for this one. And they booked Solo very strong. So will he take, I think it'll be his first loss tonight if he does lose. Or will it be a DQ or something else? Or will Solo even get the victory, which would be crazy a day before the pay-per-view? And probably not the best idea, but at the same time, as a one-off when it's Solo Sikoa, that could perhaps have some tension. Who knows? There's a few different things they could do. But Coby, I'll head to you first this time. What is your thoughts heading into this match tonight? Do you think that Solo could have, the upset of the year so far, or do you think Sami could get involved?
If the Bloodline's getting involved and you're really doing a Sikoa goes over, you really got there. I'd be expecting an angle to happen or something big to happen to set up Kevin Owens, because you would just have your contender lose a match, and theoretically that's a bad move. At the end of the day, I don't want to be like, I'm going to tell you so tomorrow. I don't see I don't see a fall ending the match. Something's going to happen to make it a no contest. We saw that when they did Drew and Sikoa, after Sikoa just debuted, they are going to protect Sikoa, but they have to protect Kevin Owens at the same time. And we saw this with Kevin Sami weeks ago. Neither could take a loss, so it's gonna end in a no contest. Yeah. There's not gonna be a winner. Maybe Kevin stands tall after the match is thrown out, or the Bloodline stands tall, but there's not gonna be a winner in this match. Let's be real.
Yeah, the only way I could see it happening, to be honest, if you told me that somebody's gonna win this match between the two. Well, actually, either way, if either of them were to lose, it'd be because of Sami Zayn. That's what I'll say. If Kevin does lose today, I think he's going to be completely screwed. It's going to be a complete, he's just going to be completely screwed over to the point that the audience is like, okay, it's not made him look weak. It's just the numbers game was too much. And then perhaps that puts a stipulation on the match between Kevin and Reigns at the Rumble tomorrow night to hype it up a little bit more. Or, there's a few things you could do from a storyline perspective, which could make this even more interesting. Or on the other side, maybe Sami tries to help Solo and then Kevin wins. But if not, and if it's clean, if the ending's clean in any way, shape, or form, it's going to be a no contest. And even that obviously won't be clean. But, you get my point. There's not going to be a clear winner either way on this one, in my personal opinion. But do you agree, Anthony?
Yeah, I don't think there's a way that this goes clean. Tradition has it anytime there's a contender for a title, they're not going to lose leading into the pay-per-view. So I would not be shocked if there's a Bloodline beatdown of KO tonight. I don't think it's going to be a DQ, or I don't even think KO is going to win it. I think it's just going to be a thrown out no contest is my guess.
Yeah, I've actually just now had an idea. What if Sami does the exact same thing to Solo that what they did to him when he was against Owens the other week, where Solo's, you think for a second, wait, saying is Solo gonna win? And then Sami comes in and screws Solo over by attacking Kevin Owens.
Sami and the Usos. I think that's where I was gonna go. Yeah. And when I initially mentioned the scenario we've kind of laid out with Sami playing a role in this match, the number one giveaway to me was the fact that Roman repeated multiple times on Raw, I don't want to see you till Saturday. And I thought that is just something there's so much room to play with that, because what if you see him, but he's helpful, right? Or maybe you don't see him and you needed him.
What if Sami interferes with the El Generico mask on?
That would be so much. I was about to say what about a Jumbotron appearance even? I don't want to see you, but Sami does something on the Tron to cause a distraction in the match.
His music hits.
Something like that, maybe. I don't know. But there's such a lot to play with there. I can't imagine we don't see any Sami tonight. That doesn't make sense to me. How they go about it, I'm not sure. I really like the no contest scenario, depending on how it exactly plays out. Maybe a swing and a miss, maybe a swing and a make. Like maybe he and the Usos attack Kevin. Maybe he goes to attack Kevin and hits Solo with a hula kick. I don't know. There's a lot to play with here, and more than anything, we have to at least see some of Sami in some capacity, I think, tonight to really make this match what it should be. Not that Sikoa and Owens couldn't go like 25 minutes and put on an outstanding match or whatever with a clean finish, but there's been so much storyline that's led up to this encounter, and the fact that it's the day before the Rumble, it's not the easiest to navigate, but there's so many choices. I think it's the most obviously exciting match on the card.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. And I'm just going to go back to what I said a second ago, because the more I think about this now, this is, if I was booking SmackDown tonight, then what I would do is I would have Solo in a position where for a second you believe, wait a second, is he going to beat Kevin Owens? And then Sami comes out of nowhere and takes out Kevin Owens the exact same way that the Usos and Solo took out Kevin Owens a couple of weeks ago when he was facing Kevin. But there were no Usos with him. He's done it completely rogue on his own. Then his justification after he gets kicked out of the bloodline or whatever, he's like, well, look, I did the exact same thing that you guys did when I had the match. I presume that's what Roman wanted. And there could be, well, this Solo, was it just because I wasn't one of your own that you're annoyed? And when I do with Solo, you're annoyed? That I think that's probably the path which they'll go down now. And that's my prediction for tonight's show. And I feel like that could be very interesting. But honestly, we've said it time and time and time again on this show. This storyline is the best thing in wrestling right now. It is the best thing in WWE for years. And I'm so excited for it heading into WrestleMania. Just please don't have it. Unless they're doing Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania, please do not have it end Elimination Chamber. This is something which deserves to go all the way to Mania and main event night 2 of the card, because it's been the best story in years. 100% withdraw as a main event at WrestleMania. Yes, Sami isn't somebody you'd put money on main event in WrestleMania, but I believe that the storyline makes sense, and I think this is time to do it, and he absolutely deserves it for his performances. And I mean, who else is going to really draw that in the way that both would make hardcore fans and casuals happy? I don't know if there's somebody.
And Ben, talk about a 180 if that turns around. Sami's battling for the title when the year prior he fought Johnny Knoxville in a match.
Oh, yes.
I mean, talk about a 180. He's the guy that ends the 800-day plus streak of being a world champ, of Roman being the champion. It would be, I mean, unbelievable. I mean, that's a Cinderella story if you can write one.
And
really.
To your point too, Anthony, think about the 3-year stretch. Didn't he in the empty arena Mania wrestle Daniel Bryan for the Intercontinental title? And that is a heck of a Daniel Bryan for the Intercontinental title at Mania 36. So I guess no, that would have been there's one in between. I'm missing it, aren't I? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He wrestled
36 was 20, 37 was 21, so this is 38. Oh no.
Yeah.
No, 39. This is 39.
Yeah, I'm missing a year. Who did he wrestle at 37, producer?
36 was Daniel Bryan and in the COVID arena.
Yep.
37 was Kevin Owens.
Yep.
Yeah.
Last year was
Knoxville, and then Reigns.
Last year was Knoxville.
Yeah.
And then this year was
that's a hell of a streak.
Good, so it's even better than I expected.
Amazing streak.
Yeah, that's what I mean. For a 4-year stretch, it doesn't. There's not much more you could ask for there.
No, not at all. It would just be, he deserves it. He really does. But we're going to get into the Royal Rumble predictions on tomorrow's show. And we're not just going to do Rumble predictions. We're going to go from the Rumble to Mania. And do it that way. So make sure you guys tune into tomorrow's show, as it will be good. But now on to the SmackDown Tag Team Tournament, which of course started last week. And last week on SmackDown, it's really fun actually to see that this Tag Team Tournament happening. And we've got a couple of good matches lined up this week. We got the wrestlers formerly known as the Banger Bros. Unfortunately, typing that in on Google, WWE realized didn't always come up with what they wanted it to come up with. So because of that, they've now changed it. They just Drew McIntyre and Sheamus again. So, not to be confused with anything else. And they are facing everybody's favorite tag team, Hit Row, Top Dollar, who, of course, didn't look great last week. Let's hope that today he looks a bit better. Because like Coby always talks about at the live event he went to, they showed a lot of respect to the fans. And, of course, Ashante the Adonis, who I actually think gets overlooked. I think Ashante is quite a talented wrestler. But they are in the semifinals of the tournament tonight. And between Drew McIntyre and Sheamus and Hit Row, who do you guys think will win? I'll start with you, Clark.
I mean, it's hard to pick against Drew McIntyre and Sheamus. They're such big names, and I'm a little almost disappointed that they're doing this tag team run, but it is what it is, and I'm pretty sure that they go over. I just hope that they put on a really good match. I think Sheamus and Drew can bring some physicality with Top Dollar and with Ashante and kind of bring the best out of them, and I hope they just put on a really good match. But I would, if I'm picking, it's Drew and Sheamus for sure.
Yeah. I'm going to quickly interrupt this because Sami Zayn's just done an interview and just said the quote, and this is it's too brilliant to not share.
Okay.
I think I could be a guy who could carry the WWE title for up to 6 months, then go on Jimmy Fallon and make a couple of jokes.
That is excellent.
It is just, he'd be the perfect, not transitional champion, but, you get the point. Somebody who for a few months could hold it, and he absolutely deserves it. But all back onto the title match.
I think he'd be great on Fallon too, by the way, Ben. Sorry not to cut you off there, but I think he'd be great on Fallon too.
He'd be great on any of these shows. He'd represent the company well. But what do you think, Anthony, on
I was going to say, remember Sami Zayn when he did his own awards, and him in the suit and the man bun? And him appearing on that on Fallon would be great.
I mean,
it would be absolutely brilliant.
Drew and Sheamus are winning that, and quite frankly, I don't think Top Dollar's any good, and quite frankly, don't expect a great match out of this.
True.
I am kind of curious with the Banger Bros things that they dropped. I am kind of curious if they had any shirts in the works, because WWE has done that before, where they've advertised or promoted something and then realized, wait, this name doesn't really work. We can't use this. So it wouldn't shock me that if something was in early development for them, merchandise wise.
The most annoying thing about it to me is that apparently they didn't know. Like, the entire thing why it was so great and funny was because, we joked about it on last week's, me and Soul joked about it on last Friday's show, me, Soul, and Coby. And I actually don't think Coby was there, but me and Soul joked about it, and it was just funny. It was a funny thing, and it fitted McIntyre and Sheamus well because obviously they're hard hitting and serious when it comes down to it, but they like to have a joke. It was a funny thing, and it fitted them well. I guess perhaps sponsors wouldn't have you, whatever. It's understandable, but it's annoying that the joke's kind of rubbish now. Banger Bros is a tag team if they didn't get the joke. Just a bit of a dumb name, in my opinion. But what do you think about the match tonight, Coby? Who do you see winning?
It was probably a trademark thing too, Ben.
Yes,
that was probably
could have very well been a trademark thing.
Yeah,
I mean, is this really a question? Drew McIntyre and Sheamus are winning. I'm more inclined to say who's facing them in the finals.
Yeah,
which I think it's.
We'll get onto that. We'll get onto that next. Don't you worry. I just didn't know if basically any of you guys thought that perhaps Drew McIntyre and Sheamus are turning on each other tonight, and they're gonna have a match at the Rumble. As I said last week, I hope they take their time and build to that at Mania. But the other match, which I know Coby, you're really excited to get on to, is Imperium. Ludwig Kaiser versus Giovanni Vinci versus Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro, otherwise known as Legado del Fantasma. And who do you see winning, Coby?
I mean, I've said this before, I think I don't want to say the money match, but I think the move is you're going to end up leading to Sheamus and Gunther at WrestleMania again, which I want to see that live.
Same.
Screw you, Ben Allison.
I've already seen it live, and I want to see it live
exactly.
Again.
That's what I'm saying. Screw you. I think Imperium, because then you can start something with Drew and Sheamus again with the Imperium. I don't think Legado takes the win. I don't. But I mean, I'd like either. Like that to me is more of a 50-50 match than like any of the matches happening tonight. And I mean, I'm hyped for it.
Let me just ask you this, Coby. What would you think about Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus versus Gunther at WrestleMania? So, it's a little bit different, but would you be happy to see that?
I'd be fine with it, but I think the story that you have to go with is Sheamus putting his career on the line. Because Sheamus needs the IC title to become that crown, the Grand Slam. And if I don't want to say if you kick that into high gear, whether Sheamus eliminates him in the Rumble or something, you can go back in that direction, and I'd be entertained by it. I think that telegraphs it, but I'd be fine with Sheamus taking the title off of him. I unless it was Drew McIntyre and Gunther at SummerSlam and something happens, I don't know who else you could have take. I don't know who else could take the title off of Gunther.
Yeah. No, I mean,
which is another question for
another.
Very
good.
I don't want to jump anybody's ship, but I'm in love with the triple threat idea. I've never seen a bad Gunther triple threat match. Put those three behemoths in the ring together and just let them chop each other to death. Like, are you kidding me? It would be the most electric triple threat intercontinental title match you could possibly have at Mania. I love Gunther Sheamus as much as the next guy. And Coby, I agree with him on pushing Sheamus too. And I might put Sheamus over, but I wouldn't go as far as maybe the career stipulation. I don't know, though. I don't think it's a bad idea. But man, is the triple threat idea tantalizing. How is that not exciting? Come on. Yeah. Those three will lay it in of all lay it in. You want to talk about stiff, snug, any of those other, common terms to describe a very physical wrestling match. If that one isn't, I don't know what will be. Like, they don't need a no there's no weapons necessary or whatever. They're just club each other and chop each other until everybody's red, and it'll be awesome.
No, absolutely.
I mean, if we want the stiffest match it could be, you got to add Dragunov.
Maybe Dragunov, but he's too little, man. He looked too little in the ring with those guys.
They need time to introduce him to main roster for
that's what I'm saying.
WrestleMania
It would never happen. I know. That's
what
I'm saying. It would never happen. But it would add the stiffness as a joke.
But what I will say is, right, I actually like the career idea now. You mentioned it, but unless it is Sheamus putting his career on the line, I would prefer the triple threat. But if that, I mean, because of his age as well, like, you could see Sheamus possibly retiring, even though I hope he wouldn't.
He's in his prime. There's no way he should retire at this point.
No, absolutely.
It's the same kind of discussion about Edge isn't taking away from the product. He's delivering. He's having some of the better matches of his career, and it's like Edge is thinking about retiring again. It doesn't sit right as a wrestling fan, because it's like he's adding to the product as the rated R superstar Edge or as Edge. Like, I want to see him at WrestleMania.
I mean, one thing I guess is that, of course, we don't know wrestlers' personal lives, so perhaps, Sheamus could leak some rumors about his personal life if he wasn't going to retire, and that would make it even, less obvious who would win that match. There's a lot of things you could do, but Clark, I'm going to head straight back to you and ask you, going back to Imperium versus Legado tonight, who do you see winning?
It's got to be Imperium. Honestly, I'm a huge fan of Santos Escobar for sure, and the concept that they had with Legado on NXT. I haven't seen much on SmackDown. That's not their fault. There's just less carryover when it comes to the call-up thing. And I wish that Legado maybe had more time, or we'd see some more success out of them to make this match more threatening. But to me, it's very obviously Imperium versus Sheamus and McIntyre, and basically it ties into the story that we almost just told leading to the triple threat at Mania pretty easily with plenty of time to tell it. And whether Drew or Sheamus turn on each other, I don't know. I don't think right away. I think they go through this whole tag thing. I think they might lose to Imperium off of Gunther's, not to go way out ahead, but maybe Gunther costs McIntyre and Sheamus the tag tournament against his guys, Imperium. And that's a logical avenue you can use to set up that triple threat we discussed. Rivalry wise, it just makes too much sense. They all kind of spider web together in a logical way. I would hope that this is a really good tag match. I assume it is. They're both great in-ring tag teams. But I would imagine Imperium hits that, whatever they call their version of the whatever it is, and that's ball game. Yeah, I think that's
Imperium Bomb.
Yeah, Imperium Bomb. Yeah, it's the it's a great finishing. By the way, it's a great tag team finish. I think it's awesome. It's my favorite thing about them as a tag team.
Anthony, do you agree with
there's no way Imperium's not winning this. Although I do think Legado and the Usos probably would be the better match over Drew and Sheamus against the Usos, because I think that's where it's going. The triple threat is a phenomenal idea, by the way. And I could see them doing something with Sheamus putting his career on the line, because we literally just saw that with Impact with Mickie James, and it paid off really well. So I could totally see that, with Sheamus being the guy to finally get his Grand Slam. I could see that.
Yeah, I would. It's a hell of an idea now that Coby's pitched the cream match as well. I honestly, either the triple threat or the cream match, I think would both be fantastic. So I'm super excited for either one of those at WrestleMania. It's WrestleMania on the whole. We're all hyped for. We've just got the Ring of Honor tickets for that weekend as well earlier today, so we'll be there. Wrestling Public will be in the building. But now, I mentioned earlier on that me and Coby were having a discussion before the show about LA Knight and whether or not he should be pushed in WWE. And I'm going to say this right now. I don't think WWE should push LA Knight. And the reason for that is he is 40 years old, right? And at this moment in time, they need to build a new mainstream star. Right? Roman's going to be gone soon. Everybody knows it. They need to be building several young stars, because we all know that it takes WWE takes any wrestling staff at least 5 to 10 years on the main roster, and usually more close to 10 years to even hit anything near the mainstream. And they've got to be involved in stuff outside of it as well during that time to get that reputation. So I think somebody at 40 years old, I don't think they should be focused on that. I don't think they should be getting the big matches unless it's, for example, this Bray Wyatt feud. LA Knight is perfect for us. He's somebody who's a phenomenal performer. So he can go in there and make Bray Wyatt look good. And the feud has been great, and he was the great choice for his first feud. But of course, he's not going to come out of it looking like, top star. And I don't think he should. And I don't even think there should be any talk of LA Knight winning this match. But Coby, what do you think then? Because I know you disagree. Why do you think that LA Knight should be pushed in WWE?
So I don't want to, that's the thing. I don't want to say, I'm not going to put it right back on your spot, but I'm going to say, if you were to define the word push, I think we're going to have two different answers. Because I'm going to say, I said it previously, he has the capability of being a main event player. At the end of the day, are we going to see LA Knight representing the company at the top of the card? Probably not. But an LA Knight Sami Zayn main event, an LA Knight Seth Rollins main event, it'll work. At the end of the day, he is someone that is in the position that can be at that point where he's a main event wrestler. As the biggest star of the company, no, it's not going to happen. But from the standpoint of, depends on what the storyline is going to do. Theoretically, you could have waited for Howdy to attack him at the Rumble and cost him. You could. We don't know what is in Bray Wyatt's dark mind. We don't.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I wholeheartedly believe, and I know Anthony will agree with this, LA Knight's been the star of the rivalry.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. LA Knight's been the one to deliver the storyline. At the end of the day, Bray Wyatt is lacking something. I mean, I'm not going to continue to move this towards a Bray Wyatt conversation, because we are talking about LA Knight. But I don't think from the standpoint of he's going to be the top star. No, he's not. But he has the potential to be a main event player. Anyone does.
LA Knight.
That's my point.
LA Knight has an ability that you can't teach. He has mic ability, much like MJF, where he's the compelling part of this. You're instantly drawn in when he cuts promos. For me, as a whole, I'm way more interested in him than I am whatever they're doing with Bray Wyatt. And, LA Knight doesn't have to be the face of the company at 40. but that doesn't mean that he can't elevate himself, other talent, and whatever title he's going for while being 40. I don't think that matters. He has an ability that can get people over, and it's not like he can't be a manager down the road to get people over. There's not enough Paul Heyman guys or Stokely Hathaways to get people over that can't talk on the mic. And LA Knight can carry in the ring too. So, I mean, for me, I would definitely push him at least mid-card, whether it be for the Intercontinental title at some point or the US title or whatever brand he's on, because I do think there's a lot there. There's an it factor with LA Knight that a lot of the other talent younger than him don't have, because you can't teach what he's able to do.
Yeah, I actually completely agree with that point there. Like you said, he has that it factor, which is personally I'm quite annoyed at, the fact that it's taken him this long. So obviously he got into wrestling late as well. But he does absolutely have that it factor, and he also he'd be a perfect manager down the line, undoubtedly. And of course, that's what Vince McMahon saw him as. But what I will say is this: if he was, going for mid-card title, I'd be okay with that. But if he was like main eventing a pay-per-view or something like that against him, like Seth Rollins, whatever, the issue that I would have with that is it wouldn't draw as much money as, two stars who are facing each other. And the only time when I believe that from a business standpoint is worth it is if you're building up a young star. I don't believe that WWE should risk, losing that that money on the pay-per-view for a match with him in the main event compared to somebody like Austin Theory.
Well, the question is this: like, what would be his merch sale numbers? Like, is he selling well T-shirt wise? Like, is he drawing ratings? I mean, these are things that we don't really know per se. But if the numbers are in his favor, I'd give him a chance. What's the worst that can happen?
I mean, what's the worst? I'll bounce off of that.
Touch on this before I pass back to you, Coby. The difference, very quickly, the difference between WWE and AEW is in terms of, for example, something in AEW, such as MJF. MJF's the perfect example. Did great numbers despite the TV numbers, despite the fact he wasn't, a big draw and stuff like that. But WWE's audience is so much, and merchandise numbers, but WWE's audience is so much more casual that it would be somebody like him to just come out of nowhere and do big numbers just because, he's good. It's pretty much unheard of. It would be such an extreme thing because the top sellers always are the mainstream stars, which goes back to the point. It takes years, very, very, very rarely, and then it's a phrase or something like that on a T-shirt. I can't think of an example right now.
I'm going to attack this from a different angle, guys, because I could think of a couple examples. So Bryan Daniel Bryan was in the industry for a heck of a long time before the Yes Movement happened. He was in his late 30s when that happened, and he's with a 4-year break now in his 40s and actively wrestling. Ben, I completely agree with the points you made about the company policy and what they're going to push. But where I will attack this historically is you look at a guy like Batista, late to wrestling, late 30s. He's almost 60 now. And another one I'll add is the current booker, Triple H. If you look at his career as Hunter Hearst Helmsley in his late 20s and in his 30s, he was truly a main eventer through his 40s and into his early 50s. So I do understand where you guys are coming from on the age thing, or everybody's coming from on the age thing, whether he can or can't. Is it a disadvantage being 40 years old? Absolutely. Is it impossible for him to, given the circumstances and given what he's given creatively, to make it? Absolutely. He can do both. They are both options. Would he be the first choice at his age for the company, given what we know and what has been said? Probably not. But at the same time, his work inside of this storyline has been so good. I don't know that even he can be truly buried in this match, because even if he loses, I think the work's been so good that the part of the wrestling community, the wrestling fan, recognizes how good he is. And as long as the follow-up is solid, if he organically gets over, then almost anything's possible. Now, main eventing shows with Seth Rollins and people like that right away, I don't think so. And I understand from a drawing power standpoint, he's not on that level. But being paired with Bray Wyatt in this big of a storyline is also, maybe we're overlooking, is that not a nod to his talent? Because they wouldn't just put anybody opposite of Bray Wyatt for as much money as they spent on the return and all of that. I think we're overlooking, as much as, yes, he's going to get buried. We know that, probably not buried, but he's going to lose. It is a nod to he can stand on the other side and entertain. And I think as a whole, LA Knight has been overlooked for a few years. In NXT, his run was great, but in general, this is a step up from the male models storyline. There's no doubt about that. Him being LA Knight and opposite Bray Wyatt is a massive step up. Correct?
Yeah. No, you are absolutely correct there. The one thing I will say on your points about Daniel Bryan and Batista is that they were both 7 years younger than LA Knight is now when they both main evented. When Daniel Bryan won the WrestleMania 30, he was 7 years younger, and Batista was 7 years younger when he main evented his first pay-per-view. So it still is like, even though let me get it up 1 second. I'm gonna be honest, because I'll say it tomorrow. I'll say it tomorrow on the show. Yeah, you're good. But so because of that, like, they are, yes, they're yes, he is. There has been people who relate to the industry, but apart from maybe DDP, and even then, like, he wasn't, he still wasn't like proper full on main event for too long. Like, I don't know if there's anybody who's ever, like, if LA Knight was to do it, I think he'd be the first ever to come in at the age of 40.
40's the new 30, Ben.
And do it. I mean, perhaps so. And like you said, he does have the it factor. But Coby, I know there was one more thing you wanted to say. So what I'll head back to you.
I mean, the one thing I want to say is, who's selling the ticket, or who's buying the tickets? The wrestling fans are. As of right now, WWE ticket sales are the highest it's been in a long, long time. And keep in mind, you were saying pay-per-view buys? Nobody's buying pay-per-views right now. It's all Peacock. People have Peacock for more than just WWE at the end of the day. Are they going to be drawn to LA Knight and Seth Rollins? Maybe not, because this is a hypothetical match. But at the end of the day, they're probably not going to be like, if this happened, if both of these matches happened this year, they're probably not going to draw this. They're not going to. One's not going to draw more than the other, and that Seth versus Theory is not going to draw more than Seth versus LA Knight. People are going to be watching that match for Seth Rollins. Also, there's factors like the build-up, the booking, everything that goes into it. But to say that it's never going to happen, I don't know. I still think he has the ability to be a main event player, someone to be in feuds with McIntyre, who can do feuds with Seth Rollins, McIntyre, all that, and be a key player. Is it going to happen? Who knows? But I'm never going to rule it out. That's my point.
No, that is good. But like you said, the thing I think all of us here can 100% agree on is that LA Knight has the it factor. He is 100% good enough to be main event in each show. I personally don't think it's worth the financial risk for WWE compared to younger guys who they could train up. Even though I believe that there's a lot of money in LA Knight as a manager, and it is just one of the annoying things about him at his age. The thing is, he is so good for his age still, but it's just annoying he didn't get into the industry earlier, because he really should have been like a top star in the industry. But I mean, he could well be the next Paul Heyman or something like that in terms of on the mic as a manager. But it is time to wrap up today's show, guys. I know it's been a very busy, action-packed show today. And so will tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll be going into Royal Rumble predictions, which is going to be great. But thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. And please leave a like. Thank you, Anthony Clark and Coby, for joining me today. And yeah, we'll be back tomorrow, and it should be an absolutely great show. So see you guys then. Thank you for joining us.